Thank you for staying with us. As Nigeria approaches the 2027 general election, the political landscape is undergoing significant realignments, particularly among opposition forces, aiming to challenge the ruling All Progressives Congress and President Bola Tinubu's bid for a second term. One of the most significant was the defection of former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai to the Social Democratic Party, SDP, which signaled both dissatisfaction within APC ranks and the possibility of a new political force taking shape. While the realignment of opposition forces ahead of Nigeria's 2027 election represent a critical moment for the country's democracy, it is a question of whether they would stand the test of time. Joining us in the studio is the convener Campaign for Dignity in Governance, Razak Olukoba. Good morning. It's good to have you join us. Yeah. We also have joining us via Zoom a lawyer and public affairs analyst, Jid Olum. Good morning, Jide. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes, I can hear you.
Great. It's good to have you join us. Let me begin with you, Mr. Olum. What do you make of this matters of defection? Yes, there are those who would say this has been part of our history as a country, where you see that leading up to election, you see alignments and realignments. But then there are those who are beginning to raise concerns as to the matter of, it seems that Nigeria is heading towards a one-party state. Is that how you see the recent developments?
Thank you very much for the brilliant question. And let me take the last aspect of it, talking about Nigeria becoming a one-party state. I disagree with that. Nigeria has a multi-party system. In fact, in this country, we have 18 registered parties, legally registered by INEC. And when you go to the National Assembly, you find some of them flexing muscles, even though some are not even represented there. And we have in the National Assembly the largest representation coming from APC, even before the defections that we have witnessed recently. Then you have the People Democratic Party, which is PDP, and also you have ABGA there. You have the Young YPP and some other parties. And so it's not right to say that Nigeria is becoming a one-party state. I think our concern should be that we are beginning to have weak opposition, in the sense that the parties that should come together and pull the ruling party on its toe are now migrating to the other party. So who do you blame for that? And when you listen to the comments some of them pass, they are even discrediting their own parties. So that does not make me feel that anybody is trying to turn Nigeria to a one-party state. I think those who are expected to be the watchmen are becoming weaker or becoming more selfishly ambitious to look at their political ambition future and ask the simple question, where can I profit in the future and migrate? And again, talking about the strength of all these alignments that are trying to form another opposition move against the ruling party. In any coalition talk, the so-called like-minded parties are not of equal strength. That is why you find now that even though El-Rufai left APC and is trying to make an inroad into SDP, you found people on ground in SDP. Are you now saying you just come in and in 2 or 3 years, they give you the presidential ticket? No. So you have dichotomy of senior and junior partners, of party founders, long-standing members and joiners. And historically, it's not the first time we are having issues like this in the country. If you go back to 1959, the Action Group was having a talk with NCNC, talking about Chief Obafemi and Dr. Zik then. And he's actually sent a delegation to Dr. Azikiwe as leader of the NCNC. But Zik opened another talk with NPC, and that led to the formation of the Balewa government. And in 1964, when a section of NCNC consummated another alliance with AG, it was a weak one. And despite the dissolution of NPC and NCNC allowance, some federal ministers, including the then Minister of Finance, Chief Festus Okotiebo, refused to quit the government. So you find out that often it's all about the personal ambition of these politicians. And it's quite remarkable what we have witnessed recently. We're talking about Labour Party in the National Assembly, PDP migrating to APC. So it's either of two perceptions. It's either you are now saying the APC is the party to be and is doing well, politically speaking, or that we don't have a strong base where we are. And for some, they are aggrieved, like the likes of El Rufai, you know. And when you look at a number of these politicians, they are professional migrants. You know, you profile them, most of them have moved from PDP to APC, from ABGA to this and that. And I think that movement will continue. But then APC must be wary. What do I mean by that? The APC we talk about right now came together in February 2013, you know, with the formation of some from New PDP, from ABGA, from MCNC, from ANPP, from ACN, and they came together as a formidable force, as an opposition, and eventually chased PDP out of Aso Villa in 2015. But then it was strategic. Apart from coming together to form that coalition, they also opened the gates for members' registration, which was massive. And there was a message passed to the people. Then it was corruption. Oh, this government is corrupt. This government is corrupt. And that resonated with the experience of the citizens in the country at that time. And that probably made way for the victory. But this time around, it may not be easy to have that smooth sail in unseating an incumbent government, because that was the first time in Nigeria that an incumbent government was sent out of Aso Villa. And some have said that it was because the then president, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, was a gentleman.
All right. Let's thank you for your contribution so far. Let's talk to Oga here. Political parties let's just go down to the basics. Political parties are formed based on ideology. Now, we have the progressives, we have this, we have that everywhere. And people that were in this political party with this ideology moving to another political party with this ideology that is so against their own ideology, does it make sense? Does that mean that ideology doesn't play a part anymore in a political experiment in Nigeria?
Yes. I used to think that there were absence of ideology. But I've looked at the programs of PDP and APC, Labour. I've read about 10 or 12 parties now. I've complete others later. And I came to discover that it was not as if they don't have their own ideology. It's just that the drive is not the ideology. Something else is the drive, which is just to be in power. Like I've said, I agree with you. You see, we are messing up our democracy. When your parties are in shambles, are not in good shape, it's going to impact on your democracy, because one of the things that gives strength to democracy is the political parties and non-state actors. They strengthen it. If you have strong state actors and political parties, your democracy will be fine. And when your democracy is fine, there's going to be good governance. Now, flowing from that, you see, the situation we find ourselves now, don't let us misunderstood it. People compare 2013, 14, 15 to what is happening now. And political class has a way of luring you into believing that they are in a good shape. The condition then was not the condition now. Jonathan completed the tenure of his boss when he died, the second year and the last 4 years. When he wanted to go for another time, they disagreed with him. That in the first instance, this is even not your tenure. Now, to now suddenly wake up and say that you want to go for the third time, which is the blackmail then. So there were crack, and major supporters from the north took off. So the condition is completely different. That's number one. Number two is that if you look at the situation in the country that time, there were calls for change of governments. People were not buying our oil that time until Buhari came. America backed away from our oil. Many countries said we are not going to. So it was in a bad condition. In fact, there were people who were locating to Cotonou already that time. If you remember, like the economy was so bad, governors were not paying salaries. So many things were happening that time. And that was where we have the concept of half salary that came up that time. So, but now, if you look at APC, you see, the opposition, they are G3, but they will not tell you.
Who is G3? APC is G3 or
the opposition is G3?
Parties are G3. Okay.
You see, the tendency in APC now.
All right. Before you continue with your line of thought, we need to quickly go on a break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us.
We don't like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. Knorr Cubes, that's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic, and enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
All right, thank you for staying with us. We still have in the studio our guest Razak Olukoba, convener Campaign for Dignity in Governance, as well as lawyer and public affairs analyst Jid Olum, who joined us via Zoom. But you were speaking before we went on the break, Razak, and you were touching on the matters of ideology and how it is that we are moving from that, and it is not healthy for our democracy.
Yes. And I say that the opposition are very jittery now. Buhari has never moved from his own political party, and he has his 12 million votes all the time, consistently since 2003 that has been contesting. Not increasing, not reducing. In alliance with Tinubu, who has also not moved from his own political party, he studies the terrain more. He never contested election until he was sure that he's going to win election. See, they have.
Is that a historical fact? Because Buhari used to belong to the CPC, Tinubu used to belong
No. The party kept changing names.
Okay,
up until the alliance, yes. AD to ACN, ACN to AD to AC, AC to ACN. They kept changing.
Right.
I'm talking about defection. Buhari didn't defect. He went from APC, AMPP, became CPC. It's the same party. All the while. Right. So Tinubu didn't contest until he was sure he's going to win. So they know that they are in trouble. Opposition, they know that they are in trouble. So they came up with all sorts of conjectures, particularly after the reality that they are not strange bedfellows, which was a popular slogan there. Yeah. That this coalition, they are strange bed. In fact, they can't last 6 months. In fact, after first time of Buhari. But once you give your enemy this weakness, they build the more on it. The more they say, the more it strengthens the party and become more united. Right. So the party opposition, the shape they are, may not help the country. But it's going to make APC happen naturally. I can't blame APC. If I'm in business with you and you are growing, you have not broken any law.
But
I start accusing you of
the APC needs to be weary.
Yes.
I'll come to that. And I kept accusing you, you have not broken any law. I'm blackmailing you.
Yes.
It's a blackmail from whatever angle that is coming from, that they are taking over. Also stop Labour too from taking over people to come and join their party. So APC is looking at the moment, but why doing that? Like what Jid Olum has said, the specifics is to look at some other states too, who may likely have issues that PDP might like. One of it is Kwara. There's a silent crisis going on in Kwara, and the person to actually speak to is the governor there now, that you must look for a formula to bring everybody back to the because if you are aiming for me here, I also aim for you there. So Kwara, another state, there's nothing wrong in taking Osun back at the moment. What the president needs to do now is to further strengthen the policy is running at the moment, starting from security. The security, we know that they are getting more decimated. I'm talking about the bandit and kidnapper, and it should be more various. The body language should show that there must be state police. Then if you look at the economy, our economy, you will say that it has its own challenge, but it's not getting worse. It's not getting worse at all. And we must take advantage of the tariffs by strengthening local manufacturers.
Absolutely.
The power sector. Right. So all these policies will make Nigerians happy, so that if you complement it with what is happening at the political class, we are very, very good to go.
Right. Barrister Jid Olum, let me come to you, for this, because, if you look at parties that are looking to form coalition and some who are already defecting, for instance, we saw Delta State moving en masse with the political leader there in the state, and then the legislators also moving. And now we also heard that there have been talks between Fubara, Alex Oti, and all of that. But legal experts like you often cite Section 68, subsection G, and Section 109, subsection 1G of the Constitution that talks about elected officials losing their seat. So my concern, or my question for you is, if you look at, looking at this legal standpoint, could they face constitutional hurdles? Those who are likely to move before the end of their tenure, could they face constitutional hurdles or litigation if, considering the anti-defection clauses?
Thank you very much for that brilliant question. You see, right now in the country, we are beginning to have some judicial interpretations that may be challenging the provisions of the Constitution. But let me say this. When you talk about people defecting from their party to another party, it does not read. There is actually no specific provision in respect of governors, only in respect of legislators. And that is why, by precedent, when the former governor of Cross River State, Ayade, defected from PDP to APC, he was not removed from office. You recall the case of Umahi and other governors like that. But when it comes to legislators, some lost their seat, like in the case of Abegunde and Ondo State House of Assembly. He lost his seat. He was in Labour Party then, by virtue of the interpretation of the provision of that constitution, because the condition required is that there should be crisis in that party right from the top to bottom. But now, look at the recent case of Rivers State. It has brought a new understanding to the provisions of that constitution, because obviously, like what we call prima facie case in law, the 27 legislators defected, came out to declare and everything. But at the end of the day, after a long judicial intervention, the Supreme Court, by body language, came to the conclusion that they remained the members of the House of Assembly until they started making the move to impeach the governor. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu also invoked a provision of the Constitution to proclaim a state of emergency, which also is a subject of interest in the judicial circle and political circles. And so you find out that we need to strengthen our laws. Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999, as amended, says clearly that the National Assembly shall make laws for the peace, orderliness, and good government in Nigeria. And so this issue of defection, as much as it may be of benefit to some parties, is a threat to us, because if we cannot control those who claim to go out there to represent the interests of the nation, then we may not be achieving much. They must be held to accountability, you see. And also, we are not discussing the constitutions of the party right now, because right now in Nigeria, some unique things are happening. For instance, which party does Nyesom Wike, the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, belong to? You see, what is the loyalty in what the lives of Makinde of Oyo State are doing by coming out to say, okay, we support the presidential candidate of another party at the presidential level? And, so these are issues. And that's why I totally commend my brother in the studio coming up with the issue of ideology. The big question we should be asking is that, do we even manage democracy in Nigeria on the vehicle of ideology? And my answer is no, because ideology should be a strong conviction. Ideas and ideals that drive the parties. But today, even some candidates who appear to be projecting themselves as going out for good governance, if you profile them, they've been to at least 3 parties. So what exactly is going on? So, applying the Constitution is also subject to the interpretation of the judiciary. So we still have a lot to do. Honestly, I have not been able to come to land at the airport in respect of this River State case. I'm still monitoring, because now, even some of the decisions of the Supreme Court, for instance, in respect of local government, that you don't appoint sole administrators. So we now have a sole administrator at the state level that is appointing administrators at the local government levels. That is sacking people, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
It's ridiculous. So
because of our time, we need to manage these issues and just focus on the topic we are looking at right now. I know there are so many things, tied into all of this, but I need to quickly manage the time that we have and come back to the studio to Razak Olukoba to addressing this matter. Some of the issues that Jid Olum raised, talking about the impact on our democracy. Democracy is supposed to be about the people. And the way we are seeing things is as if that democracy is shifting its attention away from the people now to individuality. And there are consequences, except we are saying that we are no longer practicing democracy as it is, because there are those questioning, where lies the democracy that we have been touting? Is this why our democracy is nascent? And if this is the situation on the hand, what are the implications for 2027?
And I think that is why the president is coming off with that conference, because the younger element actually form the backbone for every nation, including Nigeria. And that's why I must first admit that since 1966, the young men have been failed. Up until now, the goalposts kept changing. Since after the coup, Abacha became a general, and another at the age of 40, one was 31, and it kept changing. 40, now it's 60 to become the president. I don't know whether it's 50. It kept changing. So, it has to do with our democracy too, that there must be mentorship. There must be a role model for the young people. So, if the president will take advice from many Nigerians, the conference should be first a platform to apologize to the young element of this country and Nigeria. First form is managing our democracy, and also to look at how do we further strengthen our democracy and issues that we have raised now in terms of tendencies that are not democratic. Governor of River State put down the parliament, and many other things. So, but if you catch them young now, the young people will understand what is your country to be defined, to give them a proper orientation. I can't assume that the people who are younger than them, the older than them, are failed. But if you redefine what is democracy today, I think they will help the nation, because they are constitution.
Redefinition to mean what exactly?
Of what democracy is, and what is democracy? It is about the people. It's the will of the people, like I have said, that is shifting away from the people to individuals, which should not be the case. We are lucky to have someone who understands clearly what tenets of democracy is in power today. And I think what we need to do is to bring the barricade around him so that what he wants to offer, he will be able to offer it. And I said that all his policies and programs, he should dedicate himself to it. And that is the reason why I know many people are moving away from. They are in government before, and they do time-to-time analysis of whether the Tinubu government is making progress compared to the time they got to power in 1999 to date. And the conclusion in their mind is that this man is making progress, and it's going to be very difficult for us to unseat him, and that informs the flight. If we are in a bad ship, nobody will jump from another ship to your ship. But if your ship is strong and healthy, they will abandon the ship that is sinking. Opposition parties have not done very well for us in this country. They have not done well for us in this country. Right. And you see, as we speak to all other sectors that is corruption, we must also have the courage to also tell the political class that they are not running our democracy very well. Right, and I hope that this is going to be the last time we'll be witnessing this kind of moving about of it's not good for our democracy. Yes.
We must thank you, gentlemen, for your time on the program, because time is not our friend. But Razak Olukoba, convener, Campaign for Dignity in Governance, thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure being with you.
As well as lawyer and public affairs analyst Jid Olum. Thank you as well for your time on the program.
God bless Nigeria.
Amen. Amen.